Hi guys, welcome to the live. I'll wait till everybody gets in. I have two videos coming out for you. It'll be part 1 and part 2 of my craziness, and it's entitled My Storytime Craziness. I just got off work a little while ago. It has been a day, but I'll wait until everybody gets in. I did post it in my community tab that we were going live today. So here we are. We're gonna light a candle. And I'm gonna do my blueberry cheesecake because you know your girl loves Goose Creek candles. And if you don't, here you go. Now you do. Okay, and we're gonna go here. Okay, it's empty. I will have to go get another candle. I used it all. Hello, Gary. How you doing, my main man? Thank you for being my mediator. I am doing well. How are you? I hope you are doing well. Sure, I'll talk more about the time I got caught skipping school. Sure. My sister, when she had custody of me, I'm going to tell a little backstory. Put me in private school, but the private school that she enrolled me in did have the option where you could do a homeschool setting. And that way I didn't miss any school and my schoolwork got done. And if she had to travel for her job or my brother-in-law had to travel for their job, I could just go with them. And that way I wouldn't have to stay behind. And my nephews did it as well. But I was older than my nephews, so I finished school before they ever did. Because I'm old. So my sister decided the last week of finals, the last school year that I would be attending school, that I should go. But what she didn't realize is that James went to the same school. He went to the same private school. Hi. Hey, Sally girl. It's your girl T. What's up, homie? Okay. That happened. Are everybody okay? Oh, we're upside down. Sorry about that, homies. So my sister, in her infinite wisdom, decided that she would stay home because she didn't really have any projects that were coming up, anything she had to do for work. And my sister was dramatic. She was in the industry. She dramatic. Okay? I get my dramatic from her. I get my talent from her. And I've been told that I get my family resemblance from her. Especially when I dye my hair, my natural hair color blonde. So then I turn around and I decide, because my sister always, the days that she was home or she didn't have any work, she would make my lunch and she would bring it up. Well, what I didn't know is she was going to bring me up some hamburger, french fries, and a big lunch because we were going to be going to Napa Valley, California. Don't know why we were going to Napa. Don't know. Don't want to know. But what she didn't know is that morning she dropped your girl Topanga off, aka Ayla, in some circles. That she that she was going to get a surprise when she pulled up in her little BMW and pulled up to the school because I was not there. And they said, "Oh, are you coming to pick up Topanga's work?" And my sister goes, "No, I'm here to bring her lunch." And they said, "Well, she never got to school." So, she goes, "Okay, are you sure?" And they said, "Well, um, yeah, she did." And my friend goes, "Well, I'm not supposed to tell you this because she saw my friend Tatiana." And Tatiana goes, "I'm not supposed to tell you this, but Topanga's with James." My sister is a little blonde thing. She is petite. She is in Amazon, but she's tiny. And she gets in her car. She calls Big L, my brother-in-law, and she tells him, Topanga never, did you, pick up Topanga from school? Did she get sick? And Tatiana goes, "I'll show you where she's at." So Tatiana called her mom. Tatiana told her mom what was going on, and her and my sister left the school. So, we weren't actually at James's mom and dad's house. James's mom and dad has multiple properties. They own several businesses, and we were not there. So we ended up going to In-N-Out, and we were in the restaurant. And my sister, there was this app you could buy for like your kids. I don't know if the app is still there in the app store, but it was this app where you could get like your kid's location, and so she comes and picks me up. And while we're eating dinner, and me and James are holding hands, and she had never met James. She didn't know, hi, she didn't even know I was dating James. So then she turns around and she goes and she calls my brother-in-law. Well, he's on a business trip doing something on location, and he has to stop what he's doing. He has to come where we're at, and he said it'll be about, because he was already all the way in Ireland doing something. So my brother-in-law comes, he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And my brother-in-law, "Oh, okay, thank you. I'm glad. Oh, I'm glad you're here now, and I'm so glad that you're in." So My sister is in heels. Picture this: blonde hair. Her hair is put up in a little bun, and she has this like beige, I think it was a beige dress that day. And she comes in, she sits down, and I'm like, "Oh, is that your mom?" Oh, when she found me, she was like, I said, "Oh, James, is that your mom?" Because I had my back turned to the chair she was in, so I didn't see her come into the restaurant because I was too focused on James. And so I focused on James, and we lunch. And I had already finished all my schoolwork, so all my finals were done. There was no point for me to go back because I did them all in one day and I passed. So I was going to graduate. And the school told my sister that. So we didn't have to come. I didn't have to get up at 7 in the morning because I look very bad without my makeup. Okay? And I'm not a morning person. It's very hard when I have to get up on Saturdays and Fridays because dang. But I love that shift so I don't have to work Sunday. I couldn't help the fact that I got the flu. I'm gonna stay on the live stream till about 9 p.m. tonight. So she goes, "Get in the car," when she finds me. And I'm like, who? And James had never met her, but I had showed him pictures of her. And she was like, "Get in the car." And she has a very beautiful accent, and I can't, I can try, and I won't do it right now, but she goes, "Get in the car now." And she had her nails done, and they were French manicure, and she's doing this on the table, and she's like, so James goes, "Hey, can I just take her home because she's going to have dinner with my family. We're just waiting till my parents show up." She goes, "Oh, I'd love to stay and meet your parents." So we eat an In-N-Out burger. She ate a salad, and we went on. And she goes, "So how long have you been dating James?" And I said, "Well, for a year." And she goes, "What?" And my brother-in-law was on the phone with her. He has a very thick accent. I can't do his accent, but he goes, "She has a what?" "I'm the only boyfriend she can have." And he was just joking. He didn't mean that. Don't call the police. It was just the way me and my brother-in-law got along. And so he goes, "What?" So my sister, so the second day she goes, "Well, you still have to go to school." And the school calls her and they're like, "No, she doesn't have to come because she's made up all her hours. She's done her test. She can just stay home. She's finished school. There's nothing else we can do for her. You know, she's getting her diploma in a week. We'll send it to her if she doesn't walk across the stage in December of 2007. So we end up going in and yes, she did tell me she needed to talk to me privately. And she had told me that I was not allowed to date unless she knew the person that I was dating. And this leads into my next part of the story. Even though I was graduated, I got to go to prom. And I went to prom with James. We danced the night away. And I wore a dress that my sister bought me. And she told me that I was not allowed to date James. And I told her that I was about to be 18 in 2 days because it was so close to October 31st when I finished everything that my birthday was going to be in 2 days. I was going to be a legal adult and thought I knew everything. You can just ask my brother-in-law. I did. So my brother-in-law gets home from what he is doing. He gets his work done. He gets home. And the first thing he says to me when he comes in the door is, "You and I are going to have a conversation." And I said, "I don't have to have a conversation with you because you're not my dad. You're my brother-in-law." He grabbed me by my ear. And then my sister and him went upstairs to my room, and I followed them. And my nephews were at hockey and other things, other activities that they had. So they pull me aside and they're like, "You are not allowed to date unless we get to know this person. We don't know this person. You're not dating him until we do." Now, in the beginning of our relationship, me and James, he was not abusive. And he didn't become abusive until we went on a family vacation with me, my sisters, and my nephew. So, there is a story that I am putting out today. I did a crazy story time, and it will go into more detail about why I was disowned by my biological mother and everything that led up to it. And it's going to be a 3-parter, so please look for that. So after they have this conversation with me that night, I go to prom. And we go to prom, but the next night, my brother had to leave for another work assignment, and he was going to be far away, and he could not be at the dinner. And my sister made a vegetarian lasagna, and everybody ate. So James is at the table, and my sister asked him point blank, "What is your views on premarital sex?" He looked dead at her and said, "What does that mean?" And so she's explaining to him everything. Like, she's explaining what she said. And she said, "Let me repeat the question for you, darling. What do you think about that?" And he goes, "Well, we're both almost 8." Well, he goes, he was 2 years older than me. And he goes, "It's between me and her." And just a little background story, I was at 17 and a half when me and James got engaged. So 2 weeks after that dinner from my sister, I come home sporting an engagement ring. So my sister, and this does, so we finish the dinner, him and I go out for a cappuccino at this place, and we have cappuccino, and she's tracking my phone. She's like, "Remember, your curfew is 10:30. I didn't come home till midnight." My brother-in-law probably does not know any of this. I don't know if my sister told him. And one day, if me and my brother-in-law ever talk again, I would love to have him on the channel to share his point of view. So my sister, the next week, me and James go out for dinner, and he says, I want you to dress really nice. I want you to get your hair done, nails done. And his mom actually took me dress shopping to pick out the dress that I would get engaged in. I didn't know I was getting engaged. His sister didn't tell me. Nobody told me. They just said, you need to be at this restaurant. He invited his whole side of the family, but he would not invite my sister, my brother-in-law, or my other sister, or my mother, or my aunt. Granted, she had cancer, but she still should have been invited. So my sister finds out through her ex-husband. Now, my sister has been married twice. She was married to Big Rob, and I affectionately call him Robbie. And she was married to Big L, because I don't give his name. But I asked Rob if it's okay if I used his name. I just can't use his last name. So I've been good. So then my ex-brother-in-law was at the restaurant that me and James were at, and when James proposed, because we were the table, I know I'm pointing, I'm sorry, get over it. I'm just weird, and that's how I tell a story. Okay? I'll stop. But our table was catty corner. Okay, our table was right here. His was across the way where I usually put this candle, and I put it right beside my faucet. Okay? Just to give you where everything was. So my brother-in-law sends my sister this text message, and she's like, hey, your sister just got engaged. So she's thinking it's my older sister, Jay, that got engaged. And he goes, no, it's Topanga. And my sister, he goes, I'm going to send you a picture. So we get done from the So we get home from the restaurant, and it is midnight because his parents had a celebration with family that had come in, because his family's all over. They're in different countries, they're in different states, so they were flying in, but some of them did not get to go to the engagement. So I get engaged, and I ended up coming home at midnight, and my brother-in-law was waiting, and I got a ride act, and my brother-in-law is 6 foot something, and he is like, towers me. So he kind of was like, your curfew is 10, 10:30, 11 in certain cases, but you need to call and let us know. And I blurt out, I'm engaged! And I'm holding my hand like this, okay? I'm like, I'm engaged, I'm engaged, I'm engaged. If you've ever seen Father of the Bride, where she's like, okay, this is hard to tell people. I was like, I'm engaged. And so after I told that story, or after I told my sister what had happened, he's like, oh, I thought y'all were out of town for work. I didn't think y'all were in town. That's why I didn't invite you. So we have a dinner with just me, my mom, my other sister, and my sister. So the boys were with their dad. I do believe they were not participating. My nephews weren't there. So my sister decides. So my mom's like, what is that beautiful ring on your finger? And I still have the ring. I will have to get it out of my jewelry box and I can show y'all. But she's like, hey, that's a pretty ring. Why is it on your ring finger? And she said, oh, thank you. And she says, and my sister goes, well, why don't you tell her? And I said, well, me and James are engaged. And James was a little late because he had already started working for his family's businesses. So he was doing business deals with his dad and ran a little late, and he ended up showing up with his mom and dad. So his mom and dad, my biological mom, and my two sisters and me, and we're all sitting at the table, and my sister is blonde, okay? But she has a temper. She has the European temper that when it flares, it goes whoosh, and she is crazy. So James and I sit through the dinner and we're like, hey, we're going to be getting married July 4th. And she's like, I got married July 3rd, and it's very hard when you're trying to do a wedding close to a holiday to get a preacher and everything. And I said, well, that is a good question. I'll answer it in my Q&A. I'll answer that question tomorrow. Oh, yeah, I don't take it as a disrespectful question at all. Thank you for your question. God bless you. I will be doing a Q&A, so if y'all have any questions like that one, that is a good question. If you have any more, just keep asking. I am doing good, getting over the flu. How are you? The stomach flu is not fun, my friends, but I'm doing amazing. God's given me a wonderful life, and I'm blessed because I'm not in the ground. So I woke up on the right side of the dirt this morning. And I was early for work, so that's always a good thing. Okay. So back to my story. After me and James are telling my sister our plan, and we tell her that my wedding is going to be red, white, and blue, we're going to get married on July 4th. Nobody liked this idea because it was too close to my sister's wedding anniversary and her husband's wedding that I played the flower girl in. And so So that day, we are all explaining, and I'm like, hey, I've already picked out my wedding dress. My sister's look was, I can't even describe it. I've never seen her. I've seen her mad because I was a hellion. Let's be honest. I own it. I work on myself every day. Cool. So, me and my sister, are talking, and she's like, "What do you mean you bought your wedding dress?" And I said, "Well, I went with James's sister." Hi, how are you, my friend? It's good to see you again. Thank you for subscribing to my channel the other day. I really appreciate it. And if any of you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. But, I was. Hey, Sally girl. I was a ham back then. I was a handful, but my sister always laughed. But I miss her every day, so I tell these stories to honor her. And if I ever do a movie or make my own movie, I will definitely put a character like her in there. Okay, this is the confusing part. I have one sister who adopted me that when I was in her custody, well, I wasn't in her custody anymore because I was 19. So she passed away then. I still have a sister, from my biological family, that is still alive. My sister from my adopted family has lupus, cancer, and all that, and she's not doing so great, and she has 5 kids. But I did not marry James. I want to say that this was back in 2000. Okay, it was 2007, so that was many, many years ago. And James unfortunately passed away. So I tell stories about James, and James made me a better person every day. Even though we had a rocky relationship, I take the good days, and I was a handful. You can ask my biological mom. I was a handful. She did the best she could with what she had because I was terror on 10th in Madison, in New York. 10th and Madison in New York. I was the terror. I was a total terror. You can ask my brother-in-law. He thought I was a little shitlin. So back to my story. So when I told her that I had gone with my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, hey buddy, how are you? And I had done all this. My nose itched for some reason. Allergies are a pain in the rear. But I had told my sister, it broke her heart. She started busting out and crying in the restaurant, and she was not happy. And we were just both she was not happy, and it made me cry because she cried, because my mom used to say that I was always up my sister's rear end, Everywhere my sister went, I went. I was her shadow. She was my best friend. She was my everything. And then one day in March of 2009, she wasn't there anymore. And it was a really, really hard time. And my nephew started lying about me, saying I was drinking and driving them to places and telling their dad that I was having sex in his house when I wasn't. And just things they could say to get me in trouble. They were saying that I was going on dating apps and sending very explicit photos. Yeah, shortly after their mom died, I made a promise to her that I would always be there for her two boys. And anytime they've needed money, anytime they've needed anything, I tried to help out. And I have. They have literally called me at work and they have told me that it's an emergency. They've told me that my biological mom was sick and I needed to go. And I would get on a plane and I would go, but then I'd have to leave because I'd have to work the next day. So, yeah. But it was just really bad. They would just say things, they would do things, and when me and James broke up, um, they were saying that I was still with him. And I wasn't. And it upset their dad, and their dad asked me never to contact them again, never to contact him. He did tell me that. It broke my heart because they were my family. And I loved my nephews very, very much. And they did apologize to me when they did come to my work at Home Depot, and they were like, hey, we're sorry for what we did. We were grieving our mother. We shouldn't have treated you like that. You were just trying to help us. But at that point in time, I was not ready to hear what they had to say. I wish I had. But yeah, they ended up getting me disowned by my biological mom and my sister. And so they don't talk to me anymore. My mom sent me an email and told me that I was no longer her daughter. Now I want to clarify, this is not the mom that y'all have seen in my videos. She's good. Yes, I still deal with my grief every day. And I'm like, if I had done something different on that vacation, she would still be here with us. And so that's always something that's in the back of my mind. And I didn't always listen to my sister, but now I regret it. Yeah, that is true. Well said. But yeah, that is just where I'm at right now, is just, yeah, it was very traumatic for a 19-year-old to have to do CPR. I had been certified in CPR, so I kind of knew how to do it. I just never did it on somebody and didn't think I would ever do it on a family member. And when my sister had something in her mind, because I begged my sister just to go home, not to be on this trip, she was headstrong and stubborn, and yeah. And she ended up suffering from a brain bleed. But yeah, that was what happened. Anytime you want to hear stories, I got several. The time I peed on my brother-in-law at Christmas when I was 2 years old. Epic. It was the first time I had ever met him, and my sister did not put my pull-up on right, and I ended up peeing all over my brother-in-law's crotch, and and he ended up having to go home and change, and it was the first time he had ever met the families. Yeah, I peed on my brother-in-law. And my first brother-in-law, the first time I met him, I was a baby, but I have been told from my sister, I crawled all over him, slobbered on him, and then threw up on him. No, not on purpose. I was 2, and I had tried to tell him I had to go to the bathroom, but I guess he didn't hear me. So when he picked me up and he was throwing me up in the air, when he finally got me to the point where I was back on his lap, I just peed everywhere. It made me not almost want to have kids. Sorry, Elle. Didn't mean to do that to you. Lammy, I did not mean to do that. But, yeah, him and my sister had to give me a bath, and I peed on him. And then he tried to tell me that I was going to eat my dinner that my sister had made, and I said, you know, she's not a good cook. What's a little pee between family? Well, he ended up letting me be his flower girl, so that wasn't a bad thing. Oh, and then the second time, I'm a little runner, and so my sister was letting me walk, and there was a mall that we had gone to because she was on location doing some work for some project, and we were at a mall that had a carousel, and I really wanted to ride the carousel. It was free, you didn't have to pay money for it, and I wanted to get on it. And my brother-in-law kept saying no. So they went into a store because he had to pick up a tie for something. And I ended up bolting out of the store and running back to the carousel. And some lady put me on, and she put me on, and they let me ride. And my brother-in-law was trying to find me, and my sister-in-law was like, because my sister was like, she's on the carousel. So the carousel was catty corner from the store, so I was just sitting there. And he got on the carousel, when it stopped, and he goes, "Don't ever do that to me again." And I'm like crying, and he's like, "No." I'm like, "You ain't the boss of me? You ain't my daddy?" You don't tell Topanga what to do because Topanga owns you. So then my sister, they let me ride the carousel 4 times, and she's like, "We're gonna go back to our hotel so you can get food, and we're just gonna order pizza in, and we're just gonna eat pizza." It was 2 months before, or it was like a year. No, it was a year before they got married. So I do believe I was either 4 or 5 when they got married, because I was 19 when she passed away. Yeah. My brother-in-law did not like James. So fast forward 2 days before we go on the trip that I call the worst family vacation ever. Yes, she had custody of me all the time. They tried to do a reunification, and that's what CPS calls, you getting to go back to the primary parent, but it didn't work out that well. My mom was a lot older when she had me, because you gotta understand, my sister was 45 when she died. I was 19, so there was a bit of an age difference between us. And my other sister is 52 or 53, somewhere in her 50s. But my biological mom would try to intervene anytime my sister would get therapy in place for my scoliosis, or doctors in place, or anything like that. My mom would intervene and be like, "You need to take it up with me." And she didn't really understand that. And my brother in law wanted so badly to adopt me and just make me his own. And she fought him every way. Yeah, so she had custody of me, and because of what she did for a living and the way she traveled, I could go with her, and she would have, like a friend be with us and kind of watch while she was working, kind of watch me and make sure I was okay and didn't get into too much mischief. And then she would do what she needed to. And when she had kids, she would kind of be the one that stayed home. If he was working, she would make sure she wasn't working so she could be home with all of us. And then vice versa. Yeah, she was more of a mother figure than a sister. And that's why I took her passing very, very hard. So fast forward, my brother-in-law never adopted me, but he has told me when I took care of his account, when I was doing it for Cox, he told me he did not, he wanted to adopt me. He told me, he was like, you're mine, we're still family. Your sister may not be here and I may not be family in a sense, but I'm still your family. And I didn't know at the time, he didn't know that I was disowned or had gotten the email. But I have heard from somebody close to my biological mom that she may have not sent that email and it may have been sent by my nephew. And my nephews told me when they came to my work that my sister would always look at pictures of me when I was younger. Because y'all gotta understand, I was getting married young. Me and James never got married. Now, we did have a commitment ceremony 2 days before I went on that family vacation. And my ex-brother-in-law, my sister was married twice, so I'm gonna refer to Rob as the first brother-in-law and Big L as the one she was currently with at the time of everything going down. So So I have been told by my nephew that my sister was really sad. She would always cry anytime she saw pictures of me because there was a point in time where she did lose custody for a brief time, but then we were able to reunite and she and I were good. And she wanted me to move in with her and live in her house, and I could still drive my car, go to work. She would never stop me from doing that. She just wanted to be a part of my life. I thought it was so sweet when my nephew said that. So yeah, that was but yeah, so when I went to Vegas with James, what I didn't realize when me and James got together is that he had a daughter from a previous relationship. Her name was Susie. And at the time me and James started dating, she was a baby and he was getting custody. So when I talk about Susie or I talk about anything like that, thank you. Well, hello from well, I hope the weather is nice. So, Greetings from where I'm at, Arizona. But, so let me backtrack a little bit. 2 days before we went on the family vacation, or a week before, no, 3 days before we went on this said family vacation, they confirmed that I had scoliosis. It was something they thought I had, and then they weren't sure, and they confirmed it. So they did emergency surgery, and then me and James went to Vegas. And who happened to be there but my first brother-in-law, Rob. And he ended up taking pictures, and he ended up sending them to my sister, and he ended up telling her, hey, your sister's getting married. He didn't know it was a commitment because we were gonna do a wedding in either California or New York because I had family there, and we were gonna go and do it that way. I had already met with a wedding planner that had graciously agreed to do that. Either or. So at this point in time, we end up going on the trip, and my mom, my biological mom, Lady V, gets a call, and she is like, you are going to be the one to tell your sister. And remember when I told y'all in one of my stories, if some of y'all were here, I had a friend named Tatiana. Tatiana, me, my friend Shelbs went on this vacation. So I was able to bring 2 friends. My nephew brought their 2 friends each, and we were on this vacation. I had experience with snowboarding, but I didn't have that much with skiing. Just a side note. So I was not really in a position where I could ski or snowboard. So I was just pretty much standing there watching them have fun. And my sister always wanted to learn these things. So after all this, we go on this vacation, and me and my sister, I feel sorry for my 2 nephews because all they heard was me and my sister going back and forth, arguing. It got so bad that Tatiana had to take the boys and go to the lobby and see. James was not supposed to be on that trip because he was supposed to be watching the dog and dealing with everything, and my sister didn't really like James. She could never put her finger on it, but there was something about him that she just didn't like. So we go on the plane. Me and my sister are arguing. The poor stewardess, I feel sorry for them because they're like, are y'all okay? Do we need to separate y'all? Do we need to sit you over here? It is a long flight to Canada. It is a long flight. It's a long flight. It's a very long flight. When you have your sister bickering at you. And I didn't know, unbeknownst to me, that my ex-brother-in-law Rob had sent her the picture of me going into the wedding chapel and then me leaving the wedding chapel. And it was just a commitment ceremony, but I still wore the ring. So James always had this joke, and I've said it before, and we've heard it in some of my lives. If y'all have been there, if some of y'all are new, hit that subscribe button. But James always had this joke. He would tell my nephews that we were going to move to Alabama and we were going to live in a tiny house. And okay, well, when I explained the whole plane ride there, she was going, okay, I'm going to try to do a British accent, okay? Because I want to try to nail this, okay? She goes, what the fuck were you thinking doing this? Okay. She said, pardon my French. She said, what were you thinking doing this? What did you accomplish? And she's just like going at me. And I'm like, can you calm down? Can I talk to you? So we get to the lobby and she's checking in. She's giving them the card confirmation. She's, telling them her reservation. And she looks at me dead in my eye and says, are you pregnant? And she didn't know because, see, when Tatiana goes, why don't I take the boys? Because the hotel we were at, they had like this little common area where you could get stuff, and they had a restaurant, I do believe, in the hotel. If memory serves me correctly, I have blocked that vacation out for so many reasons. So my sister decided that we were going to have a conversation. And she was telling me in her unique way that she didn't know James had followed us. So James gets off the plane. James ends up in the lobby, and Tatiana texts me and says, hey, James is here. And I thought she was kidding. I thought she was playing a joke, and I said, oh, James is here. And she goes, what, you invited James? And she's just like really mad. And I'm trying to explain to her that no, he's supposed to be watching a dog. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? So Tatiana sends me a picture. I show her. And so James checks into a room that is catty corner from ours, but it's on the same floor, but it's kind of across from our room. Just to give you a heads up. He checks in the room. He's like, hey, you can come. And I finally get her to stop screaming at me. She's texting back and forth with my mom, and she's like, did you know she got married in Vegas? This is before I tell her it's a commitment ceremony. And I was never married to James, okay? It was just a commitment. So I'm trying to explain this. I get it out. I text my mom. I'm like, hey, when are you coming? Because if I've told Sally this story, my sister had told me that my mom and sister would show up. But my sister hates cold, hates the cold weather, hates skiing, hates it with a capital H, and would never do it. So, lucky me, I get taken on the trip, and I'm like, so mom's not coming, right? And my nephews pull me aside while she's yelling and screaming. And they say, nobody's coming but you, me, mom, and my brother. Okay. And the first thing out of my mouth, if there's an emergency or somebody gets hurt, there needs to be more adults, especially one Hello, how are you? That is because I had just had surgery. Remind you, surgery. So I was in no condition to do half the things I did. So, okay. Not much. How are you? So, after we get there, she's arguing. I calm her down. I explain it was a commitment ceremony. Me and him are not really married, but we are going to be getting married that following July in either New York or California. We had picked one venue for California, one venue for New York, and it would be in upstate New York. And I will get you the name of the venue. But we were gonna have a wedding there. And so she calls I don't think at this point she texted my brother-in-law, I'm not sure, but she had told him that I had gotten married, and then I don't think she ever told him that it was just a commitment ceremony. But she was texting back and forth with my mom, and my mom tells her, let her explain. So I explained, I calmed her down, and James is like, okay, just so there's enough room, Topanga is going to stay in my room with me, and the boys can stay in the room with me as well. That way Tatiana and you can have the room. And my sister didn't like this idea, so I was like, okay. So I ended up moving my stuff to James's room, and she would go across the hall, and before we could close the door, she went yeah. If I wrote a sitcom, yeah, it probably would. But she came, and she would like take it out of his hotel room and put it back. And this is a funny story. And it ties into the whole story. Okay, the original plan, if the accident hadn't happened, we were gonna stay 2 extra weeks or 3. And we were just gonna stay and we were gonna enjoy ourselves because my brother-in-law was working. Okay, my brother-in-law from another mother, he is my bro. And so I turned around, and we are sitting there, and I have to take a shower. I'm like, I don't know about y'all, but if you travel, you got the travel ick on you, and your armpits aren't smelling sweet, and you gotta freshen up, especially if your sweetheart is there. So I jump in the shower. I am fully done with my shower, and I go, hey, James, where's my suitcase? And he goes, no, it's in the room. And I said, well, dude, it's not here. So in a towel, yes, in a towel, your girl Topanga goes, knocks on the door, but I had a key, so I don't know why I knocked. And I go get my suitcase, I bring it back, and I put it in James' room, and she goes, what are you doing in a towel? And I'm like, well, you have my clothes over here. And my sister was a devout Catholic, so yes, she has her views. So, me either. I used to have a Facebook, but it got weird. So I deleted mine. But yeah, I go get my clothes on, and the maid is coming. She's cleaning the room next door to James. There is a people with a baby in a car seat, and they're coming this way to me, and they're like, "Do you need help?" And I'm like, "My sister moved my clothes from my room," and I did call James, my husband. I said, "From the room I was with my husband to her room." And so I get my clothes, I get my makeup bag, and I move it over there. And she's bickering back and forth, and my brothers are like, my nephews are like, hungry. A 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, what, I think he was 9, 13, 12, 9, one was 13, I know for sure at this point, and I think the other one was 9 or 10, if memory serves me right. Yes, so I'm sitting out there, and the maid goes, "Let me help you with your card." So I'm dripping water everywhere. It's cold, and it's raining outside. And it is cold, and Canada is not like here where it's warm. It's cold. And so she gives me my clothes, I get them on, and I'm dressing in the hall. I put on my clothes, and I'm just like running back to the room with James. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm staying in James's room." Yes. And she's looking at me like, yeah, so I go in. Total class, yes. I go in, and I'm sitting there, and she's on the phone with my brother-in-law, I do believe at this point, and she's telling him everything, and she's like screaming, yelling, or she's either on the phone with my biological mother screaming and yelling, but I wasn't sure. Or both. But yeah, that was And then my nephews so years later, my nephews come to my work and they go, "Why were you and mom fighting so much?" And I was like, "It's a long story. I'll tell you when you're 75. But if they ever get to watch this, Michael, Daniel, I love you. Yeah, so that was the first part of the trip. That was actually the first time we had gotten in the hotel room, we had gotten settled. And so me and James that night, she's banging on the door, like it's 2:00 in the morning, and she is banging on the door like a psychopath. So I answer the door. Picture this, I am in lingerie from Victoria's Secret. I'm in like this little baby doll negligee thing, and we're just sitting there. We hadn't done anything because my sister made sure that nothing happened. Believe me, I'm still a virgin. And I will probably be the 30-year-old virgin. 30-something-year-old virgin for a very long time. And I actually, ironically enough, had this same haircut or something similar to it. I had like a shag bob kind of thing. And I had blonde hair. I actually have a picture. I'll have to find it. I only cut my hair 2 times short in my entire life. And before we went on the trip, I did, because I thought we were going to Hawaii, but we ended up going to Canada. I love Canada, don't get me wrong, cool country. But I would have preferred Hawaii. But yeah. Yeah. It was very cold at the resort, and the whole time we were there, she had to reschedule her skiing lesson like 3 times because she was supposed to do it like the second day we got there, and I was supposed to watch the boys because they really didn't want to participate. They told me it was the vacation, that they felt like they were in prison because she wouldn't let them play on their phones. She wouldn't let them play with their video games. It was total. Oh, thank you. And thank you. God bless you, my dear. I really needed that, especially after today. I was kind of missing my sister today, so I thought I'd tell you all some stories. And my nephews are like, nobody wanted to be on that trip, not even Mom, but for some reason she was headstrong to go on that trip. They told me that time they went to my work and told people that I was their stepmother. I'm not their stepmother. People still ask me because their friends watch this channel. I am not their stepmother. I am just an aunt who was an innocent bystander. They still owe me $2,000. I always told them, Aunt Topanga will bail you out of jail and not tell your dad. And if you ever need money, come to Aunt Topanga. That's what I always told them. But that was the famous last words of a fool because of what happened. Yeah. It was great. My sister missed out on a good vacation. I wonder what my other sister would have thought if I was just in my towel knocking on a door. The creepy guy that was adjacent from the room that they were cleaning kept taking out his cell phone and taking pictures. It was kind of gross. The hotel security had to come and tell him to delete those. It was kind of creepy. But yeah, so that day, so the night, she like kept banging on the door like a mad psychopath. And she's like, she's like, I want to have an early breakfast, so we're gonna get up at 6. Mind you, this is 2 in the morning, so the first night I don't know about you, but if Topanga doesn't get her sleep, Topanga will be crazy. You can ask anybody who knows me. I am crazy. I went on that whole trip. I only had 4 hours of sleep. And that was a long trip. We were there 2 weeks. We were originally supposed to be there 4. But something happened. I'll tell you in the next video. And next slide.